without further ado, I would like to present to you our first program that we have this afternoon. It is the Panel Without Fear. And let me introduce you, the wonderful speakers that we have. We have Stephen Goh, CEO and co-founder of MigMe. Neil Cross, Managing Director and Chief Innovation Officer of DBS Bank. We have Shannon Kalayanamit, Group CMO and co-founder of Arami. Tyson Hackwood, Head of Braintree APAC. With our moderator, Leighton Kosboom, CEO and co-founder of Content Collision. Welcome, the Fearless Five, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello. I like that we have Avengers music as we come on stage. That's really nice. I think we're still waiting for Neil, who's getting mic'd up, just to kind of introduce to you guys the concept of this panel. If you've never been to Tech in Asia, or if you've never experienced the Panel Without Fear, what we're going to do is we're going to press these guys. Nothing is off limits. Nothing is taboo. Uncomfortable questions are welcome. And for the next 35 minutes, we own them. All right? They belong to us. So yeah, go ahead and have a seat. Get cozy. Why don't we first start? Each of you guys can take a minute, take 30 seconds, and introduce yourselves very briefly to the audience. Steve, I think some people already know you, but maybe go ahead.
Oh, okay, cool. I'm tech. I grew up as an engineer, started programming on Fortran and punch cards, so that tells you how old I am. And I built onto my third company, which is over 100 million in value. The second company I've listed, the first company I had, we listed 122 other companies and 10 million under management. And I did a whole bunch of work with banks, stock exchanges, and the like. That's roughly my background. Okay. But I'm more of I prefer engineering to the finance side.
All right, Shannon, who are you? What do you do?
Hi, I'm Shannon Kalayanamit, Group CMO and co-founder of Arami. We just changed our brand. We used to be known as Moxie and Bilna. Women entrepreneur, women advocator, mother of twins. All right.
Yep. Nice. All right, let's keep it going.
Yes. Tyson Hackwood. I with Braintree. I was with PayPal. Left PayPal to join a startup out of Chicago that then got bought by PayPal. So I've had the joy of seeing an entry, exit, etc. Based in Singapore, and I'm the actual father of twins.
Oh, hey.
All right. Neil, who are you? What do you do?
Well, I don't have any twins. I'm the Managing Director, Chief Innovation Officer at DBS Bank. I'm not a banker. Never really went to school or went to university. I'm also founder of Hotel Orangutan, a social enterprise in the Sumatran jungle, which I run on the weekends.
Okay, excellent. Welcome. Okay, we'll just jump right into it. Stephen, this first one's for you. To someone on the outside looking in, it's a bit difficult to describe what the heck MigMe really is, right? It's a media company, but it's much more than that. You have all these different apps and startups underneath you. It's a bit amorphous, kind of like a company gobbler, and you've got all these things underneath you. In 5 sentences, or less than 5 sentences, how can you best describe MigMe to folks who don't know?
So MigMe we believe that there's this phenomenal opportunity presented by the rise of the internet in all these other countries. There's Middle East, South Asia, Southeast Asia, and the like. MigMe is a platform company in the same way that Line is a platform company, Kakao is a platform company, Tencent is a platform company, Facebook in a different way is a platform company. MigMe is a platform company. MigMe has a central thread, which is MigMe, and the various companies we've acquired along the way, and we're integrating in the same way that Line is e-commerce or has dating apps and games and a range of those things. MigMe, in the next few quarters, you'll see exactly the same.
Okay. You IPO'd on the Australian Stock Exchange, or ASX Securities Exchange, in August 2014. What was the motivation for that? Why did you do it?
Fundamentally, so my personal experience is that I've run a listed company before, and I've listed 122 other companies and raised over $1 billion for other people and $100 million for myself. Running a listed company, I feel very, very comfortable with because I've done that more than once. To me, the strategy of using our capital strategy going the listing route in Australia was a cheaper and more effective option at recapitalising the group, securing a fantastic shareholder, which is Foxconn, and actually enabling us to execute on the strategy we want to execute on. There's a classical strategy that you may not recognise here, which is a roll-up strategy, which is if you're building a platform business, you're there to require other tactical assets to build a larger group. Being listed gives us that ability. The Australian stock market is a great market to execute that on.
Are there a lot of great companies on the ASX, like blue chip companies?
In 1992, when I built my first stockbroking company when I was in my early 20s, the Australian Stock Exchange and the Singapore Stock Exchange were the same size by total market capitalisation. It is 24 years later, and the Australian Stock Exchange is about 15 times larger by market cap than SGX. And I think if you look at just that statistic alone, I think that speaks for itself. There was a company called E Corp, which was run by a guy called James Packer, son of Kerry Packer, who's a very well-known international person, was a person in media. And E Corp was an aggregation of a number of other digital companies, including eBay Australia. You've seen some other jobs portals and a range of different other companies. It was a $2.6 billion listed company. I would say that's not a bad company.
Okay. At the time, did you IPO on the ASX as much more of a fundraising tactic because you had no other choice, like a Ben Horowitz situation, or did you do it because
we had a range of different options to either raise capital privately and the like. Once again, fortunately, because I've got a bit more of a track record of raising money and making money for shareholders and the like. We had a range of different options. We could raise capital within this region, overseas, and the like. We also had the offer to list in a few other markets within Asia. The reality is, taking the route to listing we did was through a backdoor listing. It saved us 9 months, $2 million, $10 million a burn. We didn't raise a single dollar when we listed the company, just to be clear. But we did secure a fantastic shareholder, which is Foxconn. Foxconn makes every mobile phone on the planet directly and indirectly, except for the Samsungs. It gave us an opportunity. We had 3 fantastic shareholders out of Silicon Valley: Excel, Redpoint, and DCM. We gave those guys an opportunity to get an exit, which they may not have had otherwise. So that gave us the instrument to do everything we intended to do.
Great.
Yeah.
I'm going to come back to you in just a moment. I want to move on to Shannon here real quick. Speaking of companies that are a little bit hard to describe, Orami, which has recently been rebranded. Let me see if I'm getting this correctly, right? You started a company in Bangkok. It was an e-commerce for women. Ardent Capital came along, bought you guys up, and then plugged you into what's called What's New Group, to which you became a piece of a machine. They later decided to pull you out and make you autonomous under the name Moxie. They pushed you into Indonesia. You ran there for a little while and then decided that it was a smart play to merge with Bilna, the baby e-commerce, kind of the equivalent to diapers.com, but for Southeast Asia. And then you went under the name Moxie Bilna for a while, and now you're Orami. So you guys have become a lot of different things in a short amount of time. What was your role in this? Is this in keeping with your original vision, or are you sort of taking the orders from Ardent?
I was set up. No, not at all. Actually, the thing is, when I started Moxie 3 years ago, we just left Lazada at that point. Wanted to come out and do an e-commerce, not sure what it was. Turns out that we have a women flair, because obviously I'm a woman. And basically 75% of our customers were women. We were fundraising for a little bit. Ran into Ardent, and then we also had one more person that we were talking to. It was either, do we do it all alone, or do we go with Ardent? And the thing was, it was quite easy for me, because as a newbie to e-commerce at that time, like they had the warehouse, they had the financing arm, they had everything else. I was good in marketing. They liked our women platform. So contrary to the thought, it's always been women e-commerce. Like from the beginning till the end, till now, till whatever, always women e-commerce. So long story short, got acquired, plugged in, we merged, same company. It was under our brand, Moxie, because it was a stronger one. All of their verticals actually folded into us. So it's everything for the women lifestyle, from the beauty to the health to the mothers and babies to the pets, everything. Also went to fundraising again. We launched an Indo, also under Moxie, also the women e-commerce vision, because we understand women the most. Ran into Bilna. We had only started fundraising for 2 weeks. Ran into Bilna. They already own the mothers and babies segment, #1 in Indonesia. Made sense to partner with them. Also Emerge. And it wasn't actually officially called Moxie Bilna. We never changed the name to anything, but because it's a merge, we wanted to make sure that, you know, between the two companies, we come together, we've dropped our egos, we made sure that we did the best thing for both of the firms. Nobody acquired anybody, it was an equal merge. And basically, we're all the same thing, women e-commerce, under the name Orami now.
Okay, good answer. Thank you. And we'll come back to you momentarily. We'll move on to, let's go to Tyson. Absolutely, just going down the line. So for those of you who don't know about Braintree, it's a payments company, and you're the head of APAC. Recently, NextWeb reported some layoffs to your developer staff, to the Braintree developer staff. What happened? What exactly was the reason for this? Did you guys decide that you didn't need this many developers, or was it decide that you wanted to take a different direction?
Look, I think we're maturing your business. As you probably know, that same group initially started as being the PayPal dev team, and then they became the Braintree dev team. And you know what became more apparent on a day-to-day basis was having them as a separate group wasn't to the best use of people. It's better having that all as internal capability. We're all advocates, right? There's not a person that works on our team that isn't doing and acting in the same way. So I wouldn't use the word layoff as much as the redeployment. Some people have chosen to go do new things, and some people are doing different roles inside our business.
Oh, okay.
So it's not, I think, for me it was, we worked very closely with those teams to a point where they've just become part of us, and they're now doing very much similar roles. If you look at even our stand, where that traditionally would have sat with that group, it's still here a year later with the same people that were there last year helping out. So we find now that we just spend as much time in our advocacy role as we ever did. We all wear the shirts and we're all out there. So I think it's probably better realised as a redeployment rather than getting rid of people.
So would you say then that particular media, NextWeb, did they handle that situation properly in their reporting?
Oh, look, it's hard, right? I mean, you make your own assumptions based on what you see. When you say, hey, we're moving this department on or we're doing something different, people always take it two ways, I guess. I can't comment on where they got their, what they decided as their angle, but for us, we're very clean and clear about it. We just decided to redeploy and look at a different focus.
But you did, in fact, plug people back into different roles in the company at large.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Great. Very good. And you guys are linked with PayPal, which is this big corporate entity, and I want to come back to that also in a moment. But before I do, I want to kick it over here to Neil, who is from DBS Bank. He is the person on this panel that basically represents the corporate world. And Neil, I guess I just want to know a little bit about, what's your KPI? How does DBS measure your success in liaising with startups or help building out fintech as it relates to the bank?
Okay, good. It's nice that you're being gentle with me. You don't have to. It's fine. So thankfully, I'm very lucky. I write my own KPIs. So on my first day at the job, I caught the CEO, Piyush, and I said, Piyush, what's your innovation strategy? How can I develop more? He said, it's a brilliant strategy. He goes, I hired you. Good luck. And so I write my own KPIs, which is a little strange when I talk to my team and they think they're not going to hit them. I'm like, well, a minute, you wrote them. How can you not hit your KPI? So what we've done, first year, we want to do activity. It's really important in innovation to give yourself enough time and not drive towards revenue too quickly. So for example, last year, we ran 1,000 experiments. We accelerated over 40 fintech companies. We trained over 500 staff in lean startup. We did 150 prototypes, et cetera, et cetera. Not the innovation group, that's the bank as a whole. This year, we're moving towards stuff delivered. So how much funding did our fintechs raise, how many new products went into market, etc., etc. Next year, or maybe the year after, because there's a bit of a slowdown, you might have noticed in China, we're going to move to revenue from new product. And so we're taking a ramped approach, because obviously, innovation is, at some point you want to make some money. Our approach to what we're doing in Singapore is actually a little altruistic. I never want to work for a bank, awful places, but DBS are very different. They do have a good moral compass, yeah? They're the development bank of Singapore. They were founded to develop Singapore. And so a lot of the work we do, you may notice we do things like run accelerators, we take no equity. When we do hackathon,
no equity at all.
No, we don't take equity, we just pay $25,000, give them space, train and educate them. We're not up for that. When we do hackathons, we pay minimum prize money. And so it's twofold. One is we do want to see some nice product we can use at the bank. Secondly, because we're the development bank of Singapore, we want to develop Singapore. We want to create more talent. We work with students at scale. Our DBS hotspot's going to accelerate 100 entrepreneurs at once. So we're trying to do big scale stuff to develop Singapore as a whole as well.
Okay. So I guess this is a question then for both Tyson and Neil. At what point, what are the limitations for a big corporate in actually developing startups? How far can they go in actually making sure that these little guys are growing as big and as fast as possible? Perhaps you can speak from experience, Tyson, and perhaps you can speak a little bit more on what you've observed, Neil. And if you guys have any notes to compare, please go ahead.
Yeah, look, ours is quite I think, very obvious one, the fact that we're still called Braintree. We still have our own website, we still have our own services. We're certainly a PayPal company, but you'll see that we still run a Chicago office. We've stayed separate and we work with PayPal. So what they saw is the best way to do that was let something run the way it was running, not to get in the way, but empower. And essentially what, the best thing they did, and I say is they took all the back-end services which weren't core, and they ran it on for us, and they run for us. So we all become PayPal employees. We use to share HR and services and all the back end. So it means that all our focus is on development, market development, feature, just focusing on the product. So we've got a very nice situation, a very good situation. So I think for any corporate getting involved, from what I see, it's like if you bought it for a reason, let it run for that reason. Take all the admin costs, all the back-end costs, which are really, away from the core business, and run that on that behalf, but let the main core business run. And
so you think they should be hands-off then in terms of getting you guys plugged into, the higher tier businesses and things that they have in their network?
No, look, there's an absolute advantage. PayPal's got some amazing relationships, and why wouldn't they introduce us in and be involved in that? It's just to the advantage that our conversations are run a little bit differently and are different, give different capabilities. So we absolutely maximise PayPal. When we were part of eBay, we maximised as we were part of eBay. So, any relationship, any introduction, anything you can do is worthwhile. And I think that's actually the power of the corporation, is to make sure you leverage everything.
You get the scale as a utility. You don't want to have your own HR. You don't want to have your own, maybe tech infrastructure. That's very much what we do as well. Is when we've got our new digital bank initiative, we're reusing a lot of tech from the core bank, but we're building a lot of new stuff on top. We use stuff like HR, finance, all that kind of stuff, but essentially they sit in their own space and they kind of execute in a slightly different way and have a different culture.
And probably the best is also, there is surprisingly, there's a war for talent we hear about all the time, and the advantage we've had is that people that may have reached their limits within one organisation have got now the chance to go be part of the next one. So we're keeping good people, giving them an extension on what they were doing prior, teams working together.
Is that your philosophy too, Stephen?
This is the panel with no fear, right?
What's that? Yeah.
So for God's sake, don't deal with big companies like this. But the fact of the matter is that the beautiful thing about the internet, and the most amazing thing, is it gives you access. It means the last little fella out there, you come to a place like Asia and there's all these existing power structures, if it's in government or old family wealth and all that garbage. And the practical reality is that the beautiful thing about the internet is that you, the last little fella, can come up with an idea and he gets access, and he can be as great as the last guy that's out there. And that's access, and that last little fellow can. And the most ridiculous thing I've seen when we moved from Silicon Valley out to here is that the large volume of people who really don't know what the fuck they're talking about influence basically or get in the way of the last little guy's vision or the chance for him to become successful. There's so many people here who think they know what they're talking about. And you ask yourself, if it's in private equity, if it's working in the branch offices of some multinational, or whatever it might be, how many of them have ever gone and built a company before? How many? Like, how many venture firms and private equity firms or large companies or branches of large companies here have you actually seen who's gone and built a company? I look at your question for her there. Like, I understand her business. What a fantastic business. Good on her. Absolutely fantastic. And I think it's absolutely fantastic they've gone through a number of changes, and she's still powering on and being absolutely successful. Absolutely fantastic. Any other comment? Quite frankly, absolutely fucking useless. Get out of the way. Get out of the way of these people. I mean, if you're a young fella out there, the internet gives you the opportunity and access to control your destiny, to be wonderful in your own special way, and the volume of just rubbish that goes on out there, or guys who ponce around thinking that they're a venture guy because they've got a bit of money behind them, or whatever it might be. For God's sake, ignore all of them. I mean, for God's sake, really.
Yeah, actually.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
And then Neil, I want to give Neil a chance to reply to that. But yeah, Shannon, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, actually, when we started fundraising the first 2 times, we got held up with these big corporates, not you guys, so you guys off the hook. But
you can say it to them, it's just patent without fear. It's just
I know.
Get rid of your fear.
It wasn't a financial institution. I mean, it wasn't like you guys. It was retail. So their goal was actually they wanted to copy all of us. Got us like held up for like 6 months. One guy, another guy got us held up, conglomerate as well in Thailand, for another 3 months. Luckily, we didn't stick with them. If not, then we'd completely be dead in the water right now. But yeah, they wanted to gobble us up, cannibalize, use all our resources, and end up like flipping us off. So we did that.
I totally agree with you. I mean, I'd just like to make a point. Our CEO actually ran his own startup, Piyush, so he has experience in that and failed. But you're right. I mean, actually, I think the biggest problem is a few things. One is instant gurus. So whenever we get a new trend, everyone's an instant guru. They have a voice, which years ago you never got. You'd only hear from the people who wrote books or on stage. But now everyone's got a voice and an opinion, and you get lots of fintech influencers who actually do nothing apart from tweet, which is why they never mention China.
Like who? Like, can you name a name?
Of course not. But they never mention China because China never tweets, and yet China's the fintech capital of the planet,
Right.
so it's quite funny. But the important thing is the worst thing that corporates do actually is not insidious, it's just that they'll keep talking to you as a startup
They'll kill you
until you
with
burn
their
your money.
love.
You've got to qualify yourself out quickly, because guess what? They want a boss said chat to startup, yeah? And so they'll chat to you, have gone for months, you think this is your big lead, you'll put money into it, you'll defocus on your other customers, and then suddenly they'll go, oh, thanks for educating me.
Yeah.
Don't fall into that trap. We really try and educate the bank. I've had startups, respect them, respect the fact they're burning cash, be direct with them. If they don't have the thing you want, that's fine. Go chat to another startup, but don't just spend time just chatting and learning from them. Try and do something. Try and deploy them, try and find them capital, try and put them in a program and help them, try and connect them up with other startups. Try and add some value into that rather than just chat to them.
In April 2014, DBS said it would, and I quote, be investing SGD 200 million over the next 3 years to up the ante in digital banking.
Yeah.
Where do we stand on that right now? Where does DBS stand on that right now?
Unfortunately, we're just about to do a huge press release. So I could, but I would get a call.
Please do. Please announce on stage.
I would love to, but the head of marketing's my friend, and she probably wouldn't be after I did that.
She's the one with fear.
She's a very smart. No. But you've got to follow corporate process for this thing. So let's say we've spent a lot of time cutting the bank in half from a technology perspective, putting an enterprise service bus, building services on top of that, and then building our new digital platforms on top of that. There'll be a big announcement about what we've done particularly in India around that, and that's to come. We've also released $10 million for startup programs. So that money is purely for running stuff like Hotspot, giving startups $25K, hiring staff to run these programs, renting kind of space, all the marketing and that kind of stuff. We're actually going to release more money this year. Again, I can't kind of talk about that. What I can say is we're building a huge innovation facility in the Sandcrawler, which is out at Fusionopolis, One North. We're in there with LucasArts, Disney, and we're going to have a lot of startups in that space. So that's going to be our hub for the bank connection out to the outside world. So startups, universities, other corporate partners, and et cetera, et cetera.
Fair enough. And I'll let the media press you a little bit harder on that afterwards in the Meet the Media session. Moving on, I just want to jump back to Shannon real quick. Alibaba invests $1 billion in Lazada to make them the e-commerce king of Southeast Asia, hopefully in their minds. So your merger with Bilna, I don't know exactly what the strategy there was, but perhaps you guys decided that yes, we can hit more levels of the value chain and be more powerful together. Is this the beginning of more e-commerce consolidation in Southeast Asia to go up against the big brands like Lazada and Lipo Group and them?
Yeah, I mean, I have to say thank you, Alibaba, and thank you, Lazada. It's really good for the ecosystem. Two, you guys can be king, but we're queen. So,
No,
you know who runs the house. But basically,
They sell women's products as well.
Yeah, no, I know, but we're women positioning, right? We're not saying we don't sell men's stuff. We're targeting the women. We understand the woman.
So
We've
you do
carved
sell
out.
men's stuff?
Oh yeah, for sure. Because
thought
the
you were
woman
women's
shops for you, right?
Oh,
So
okay.
your woman tells
They
you
make
where
the
to
decisions,
eat, right?
Okay.
Your woman's telling you what to wear, right? So basically, that's why we targeted women. It's big enough. We control 75% purchasing power all over, and that's why we targeted them. Without this positioning, we would probably be dead in the water. So be careful, all of the marketplaces. That's why we got out of that crowded space because, and back to your question about Bilna, they were the #1 mothers and babies. We do everything women. So beauty, health, you get knocked up, you got kids, you got pets, you got all of that stuff. We take care of all the women needs. So without the positioning, I think would have been tough, but it's worked out in our favor so far.
Okay, fair enough, and I'll let the media get you afterwards on that topic too. Tyson, what's it going to take to win payments in APAC? Or, as you told me before, is APAC one and as in singular? Or what's your take on the keys to the kingdom? How can you become king of the castle in the payments space in Asia?
Well, I don't think you need to win, and I don't think you need to be the king. There's a lot of money every second of the day going across the wires. You can just make a really good business and help lots of people grow. I would rather, altruistically help startups grow and businesses grow than worry about the king. The natural kings will emerge, the natural leaders will emerge, but money's being spent every day, so it's hard to say what win and loss is. Did you win or lose today, or did you win or lose a year? People are changing providers all the time. For me, though, the #1 thing is that the greatest thing we've got to fight against is cash, right? I mean, we're online payments. Everything we do is around. It has to come over via a wallet or a card or something attached as an instrument. In this region, and to the point that each country is different, there's just still a bucket load of cash being used, and it's expensive to touch and it's expensive to handle, but it's there. So to overcome and a winning strategy for us is actually to convert that cash to some digital form and then get into a digital environment and make it easy and secure for people to use. That's winning for us, right? Winning's not a competitive landscape. Winning is trying to beat cash in the market and make it and give it a digital format.
Okay, great. We're almost out of time, so I want to give each of you guys one more chance. Without using superlative adjectives about your own company, what is your most valuable insight that you'd like to share with startup founders in Southeast Asia for media, Stephen?
For God's sake, don't listen to 90% of all the rubbish that you hear and see. And don't raise money from 90% of the people that you see wandering the halls that you see around here either, if you're a startup. Number one thing you do, and you can see this, is raise money from friends and family. And do that first, long before you do anything else, because it teaches you how to be a shareholder, to be an investable company, because you've got to turn up at Christmas dinner and explain yourself. And if you can't do that, and if you have a problem with that, you shouldn't take money from the bloke sitting on the other end of this couch, because, and it's no wonder that, and you look at it across the whole landscape, about X amount of dollars going here, whatever. Have you seen a success story funded out of any of those programs? None. And the fact of the matter is that having sat on all the incubators here, and dozens of them, and seen hundreds and hundreds of companies here, it breeds the wrong entrepreneur to think that you're going to get a grant or you're going to get that money on that basis. The number one reason why you go and raise your money from your parents first is you've got to turn up to them and explain yourself. Number one reason.
Why are you working on Christmas Eve?
And well, that's the thing. And just forget about all the noise and the rubbish and all that sort of stuff you hear about the blah, blah, blah. Have faith in yourself. There's an opportunity that's out there. The reason why this lady here is as successful she is through all the changes that have happened, my God, look at the energy. She's here, absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, okay, we all know Arami's great.
And if you go back to, if I took the programmed approach for anything that anyone else might have said earlier, she wouldn't be here.
Okay. Your response, Neil, without using superlative adjectives about your own company, what's the best advice you can give to tech founders from banking?
We don't invest, so we don't have a venture fund, so they can't take our money.
Oh, but you just said you put 200 million. Oh,
no, that's to build a digital bank, so glad you've done your research. If nobody said no, just do it.
Okay.
That is it. That's what I tell my team. If nobody said no, just do it. I think there's too much kind of fear. Are we allowed to do this? Can we do this? Will regulators do this? Will it scale? Just do it. Try it. Experiment. Smash it up. Pivot. Try again. Just keep going, keep going, keep going. You'll get there eventually.
Tyson.
I'm going to go on a really practical level. If you can afford it, go work in a co-working space. It's a great place to engage lots of other people. It's a great place to suck up energy and also give out energy. And to me, without co-working space, I don't think we would be where we are today either. So get into a co-working space. They're great. They're the best place to play and best place to be.
Excellent. Okay. And Shannon, e-commerce, not only what is your best advice, but what can we expect to see specifically? This is a bit selfish, but I'm asking, what can we expect to see in Indonesia specifically? Who is going to win? How are they going to win? And what are your thoughts?
Wow, that's like two questions there. All right, e-commerce. I mean, one of the things I'm going to say is always find a positioning. I mean, if people said, Shannon, you can't do this, e-commerce is a crowded space, which a lot of people did. Why are you into it? It's going to use so much money. Basically, we figured out a way how to do it, and so don't listen to other people. Find a positioning, make sure you do it. What you can expect for us is a lot, actually. So now that we've merged, now we've become one big company, we're actually expanding into a third country. But Indo, you're going to see a lot of emergence of social commerce. That's really big for us. One of our shareholders is Gobi Partners, really big in social commerce. You can see a lot of these things to make it more sticky, more viral. We don't want to just do the traditional e-commerce where it's like CPC and be so reliant on that. As you know, marketing costs and revenues is correlated. Once you drop marketing costs, then basically your revenues go down. So we're basically coming out with a lot of strategies to make sure that there's a lot of organic traffic. This is something that we should make sure that we're very wary of, and for people who are in marketing, doing online marketing, you guys have to find another strategy because marketing is really, really expensive right now.
Okay, actually it looks like they've given us a little bit more time, so I want to stick on you for a minute, Shannon. Just want to quiz you a little bit in sort of rapid fire on your own KPIs a little bit. Yeah, so what's your customer acquisition cost? Can you share?
25.
What's your customer lifetime value?
30.
What? Okay.
Today.
Okay. So how many SKUs did you have before the merger with Bilna, and then how many do you have currently?
Let's see, we're about 100,000 now. I want to say we were 30,000 before. Two countries.
How many people do you have on your team?
500.
Oh, very good. So I guess that kind of wraps things up a little bit. We have big business meets sort of the startup world. In one sentence, Tyson, what do you hope to see in the next 18 months in Asia Pacific?
I just hope to see more and more people having a go. I expect to see more and more going on with mobile, and and I'm hoping to see that we convert more cash to some form of digital.
Okay, and media?
I think it comes down to this ecosystem stretching east of Israel, west of Hawaii, south of North Korea, and north of Tasmania. It'll be the center of innovation has moved to this region. It's clear the North American players are copying China. If it's Facebook or Amazon, China's now leading. If it's, and they've admitted it in all the recent conferences that the best playful social apps are now in China, Korea, Japan. Facebook is copying WeChat and Line. And I think this whole region is extremely exciting, and it goes back to the point that don't follow the blogs which go back to the Valley, because they're actually following us. This is the center of the world now.
Okay, everyone put your hands together for the panel Without Fear. We have people from all across the board here.